Today, was the Nintendo Switch really just a Wii U accessory? This is CheckPoint. No.
Good start to the day. The answer is no. That's right.
No.
That's how Better Just Law of Headlines works. Yes.
Yeah.
If the headline is something that is a question, that means the answer is always no.
Yep. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to ChillPoint.
All right.
Yeah, you done fussing with your hair?
No. This is going to take the whole episode.
It's
till
a
I get
lot of
it
hair
just
to
right.
fuss with.
There's lots behind here still, too. Holy shit. Let me keep adjusting things. Go ahead, talk amongst yourselves.
We can talk without Peach. He'll just say words. Nothing can stop him.
Welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about video game news of the week, and specifically, we talk about the episode of CheckPoint that just went up yesterday, and give you a little bit more background info on some of the stories that we talked about, and also talk about some of the stories that we didn't talk about. Rectify the situation of not talking about stories.
So that they all feel equally loved.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think we had to give every story equal representation here. Some of them are just bung.
Or just bung.
Yeah. Like a sound effect.
Bung.
Bung.
Which brings us to Space Jam.
That's the fastest we've ever actually gotten to a story. All it takes is for me to shut up for once.
We need Beach to fuss with his hair more often at the beginning of the show.
So, for those of you who don't know, there's a new Space Jam movie coming out. It's called Space Jam New Legacy, I think.
Space Jam New Horizons, New
Space Jam Reboot Camp.
Thunder Guard Rhino 1 for 2. What?
Space Jam proves Space Toast.
Yes.
It's Space Jam, come on and get up. It's time to slam New Legacy.
All that stuff.
Yeah, it's a really long subtitle.
And so they wanted to have a game to go along with it, which makes sense. And so they did this contest a little while ago for people to submit game ideas, which, yeah, it's one of those things, like the whole contest for ideas thing is always definitely, it's not always bad, to be clear. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely a certain raised eyebrow involved in it, especially when it's a company that has people who do that job in their employ, game designers in this instance. So it's there isn't anything inherently wrong with running a contest for this kind of stuff, but it's
let's just say it's sure, the idea itself probably not bad. Mm-hmm. The execution about 95% of the time probably not great.
But you do need contests like these, because otherwise how would anyone know that the kind of Space Jam game I want to play is a courtroom drama?
Right. Space.
You post on your Twitter and you give it a hashtag.
the Phoenix Wright Space Jam crossover that we desperately want.
That I hoped that the movie was going to be, and it isn't. So,
I mean, I feel like there could be some serious legal cases that could be made. That a lot of people, I haven't seen the movie, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say a lot of people are going to be violating the rules of basketball.
That's true, yeah. Yeah. Basketball is played on a court. Anyway.
So
the tunes certainly will. And the bad guys also, there's a spider, I think, is one of the people. And there's all sorts of, presumably there's going to be a lot of what would probably be defined as cheating back and forth. But
Yes.
when the
Yeah.
good guys do it, it's fun though. So it's fun.
The, the human character for this is LeBron.
Yes.
Right. So, but he's not going to start by playing baseball and pretending he doesn't like basketball anymore, right?
Probably not.
Probably.
I really needed to reference Paul's thing where it's like when the good guys do it, it's fun. No, Paul, when the good guys do it, it's the Harlem Globetrotters.
That's what I mean. When
Yes.
I think it was golf.
it's fun when the good guys do it and the Looney Tunes do it and stuff.
I actually am a little sad now that I think that the Space Jam movie should not only be like should be Looney Tunes, but at some point the animated Harlem Globetrotters should show up at some point and be a part of the game. That if they're going into like all the different, we need to ask all the cartoon characters to come help us, so that we can beat the Monstars and also keep Joey from taking drugs and letting down his little sister. That they should also have the Harlem Globetrotters show up in animated form as well. Do you not remember Cartoon All Stars: The Rescue?
I was not aware of the drug taking plot line in the original Space Jam. But
Well, they take a lot of drugs in sports these days. That's what I'm told by people who have better things they could be doing.
So anyway, they put out this call for submissions for a game, and I don't know how long ago they put out this call for submissions, but I could probably look it up on the blog, but
I do.
how long?
Contest closed December 23rd, 2020.
Right.
So it's been 6 months that they've been percolating all these ideas.
Right. But I mean, like, if you look at the game appears to be, like, playable.
Along.
Yeah.
Right. So
So-
it's been 6 months for them to find the one that it doesn't say make it a basketball game.
No, 6 months for them to find the one that matched the idea they already had while they were developing it.
Like, I
sure.
feel like they may
Must be
have
that
been
way.
like they may have been some ways along in the process, at least, with like character designs and drawings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Before they ended up with the like, because I mean, if you do a contest like that, and the answers and the things beat them up, it's like, okay, so if you ask that many people, you'll get basically every possible genre of game as the answer, and then you just choose whichever one you actually wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah.
I guess. Although it's interesting to know what the other guy, because there's the space, or the beat 'em up was
Narayan.
Ricky. No, it was
It was Ricky's idea, and
Ricky,
then Narayan's
the
was
adult
game mechanics.
Yeah, the adult
okay.
winner was suggested from America
right,
suggested
I read
beat 'em
that one.
up, and Narayan from India had other mechanics
Yes.
that they suggested. So who knows? Hopefully crafting mechanics.
I'm hoping the mechanics that they did not suggest were like microtransactions, because I don't think they needed to suggest that for that to probably happen.
God damn, that'd
Yeah.
be funny if the kids option was, I want you to put in DLC so I can pay 39 cents a week to download new skins for LeBron. Like, if that's the one thing, I don't care
Yeah.
what game you make,
Please.
just make me spend more money on it.
Please,
Or-
sir. Please, could there be money, paid DLC? I just
Yeah.
want to pay to win.
I love loot boxes. In fact, that's all I ever.
I
I don't
wish-
even play the actual games. I just.
I wish there were
Open
more
loot
surprise
boxes.
mechanics.
Could you have some quick time events?
So yeah, that's the actual game they ended up with looks pretty neat.
Yeah.
And I was actually, just before we went online, I was looking up if there were games that came out for the original Space Jam, and there was a game in 1996 for DOS, PlayStation, and Sega Saturn. That was an actual basketball game.
Makes sense.
So, like, you can imagine, like, basically NBA Jam, but, like, reskinned for Space Jam. Like,
Yeah.
with like like that would like wouldn't that be great? Like NBA Jam with like tunes and like additional like crazy goofy powers.
Yeah.
I mean, that time period, probably no goofy powers and just a reskin. Because that would have still been TV shows and movies being made into video games in a poor manner.
Well, I mean, but like now, if they went like that's what I'm saying. It's like rather than the beat 'em up thing,
Yeah.
making a game like a sort of arcade NBA Jam style 3-on-3 basketball game, but all the players have like cool powers that they could do.
And
Yeah.
if they were to do that though, I would really want the management simulator to go along with that game because I'd like to make some cuts to the Toon Team.
Oh, I see. That's
Wow.
rough. You want to have a career mode in
Yeah, I think that'd be funny.
Space Jam 2K
Sorry.
2K21.
Sorry, Bugs Bunny, you're not on the team anymore.
I only pick the cartoon characters that are about 10 centimeters tall.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut Bugs Bunny, but I'm gonna add Bugs Bunny in a dress.
Or whatever. What's the big like chonker Bugs Bunny?
Oh, Big Chungus.
Yeah, Big Chungus. There we go.
Real good tank.
Yeah, he'd be good on defense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He can rebound with the best of them.
Metroid.
Thank you.
Let's talk about other Metroid or Metroid back catalog suddenly coming into the forefront because of Metroid Dread. People are like,
Certainly-
right, 2D
certainly
Metroid games. Let's
A
get
lot
in.
of people in the comments who wanted to test my shit, who I actually don't give a shit about. So that was interesting.
What,
like,
people,
I don't.
people,
People are like, I'm not buying a Wii U, and it's like, fine. You know what? I literally don't care what you do with your life.
No one has to.
You know, I love all of our fans, but also I don't care if you buy a video game console or not, and you shouldn't care if I buy one or not. You should
Also,
stop.
I want to point out for that one very specific commenter that just because we can like a thing without having to make money off of it, that was a very strange comment that you've made.
I was surprised by that idea because somebody had postulated that why would we care so much about something that we didn't financially benefit from, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that I'm allowed to like things or not now. Actually, it seemed a little odd. If I know that I am allowed to do that, but when I evaluate it that way, I was kind of like, if I don't financially benefit off of my wife, maybe I do.
You do actually, because
I think
my
do.
paycheck goes into the household just as yours does.
That's a good point. So that must be.
That
must be?
Is there a way we could have financially benefited from the Wii U?
And maybe if we got married to it?
Technically, we did. We played a lot of Wii U games for streaming at the
guess,
time, but
yeah.
that was like of our own volition.
Yeah.
And I don't really care. I still like the Wii U.
Yeah.
I
mean, the whole
it doesn't make any sense to me though that
that one and this
whole like
Wii
U this whole like games are only available in the Wii U eShop.
Yeah,
because it's like it's just such a weird what do you call it, administrative or sort of logistical thing. It is like absolutely what, and I'm willing to say there's all sorts of complicated technical things that I don't understand about consoles and stuff, and I'm usually willing to be like, well, this is what I think it is, but it's like, no, for these older games that are being emulated anyway, there's absolutely no technical reason why it couldn't be on the Switch, right? Like, there is already a emulator for that system on the Switch. It's literally just a matter of taking the ROM and putting it in there.
Yeah,
but for whatever, and the fact that it's available on the Wii U means that there's no that they are fine with it being available, and so it's just like, but for some reason we've just decided to make things more difficult for our customers.
It's definitely,
don't understand.
because I think like a lot of that is this was left over from for a while. Like I don't Fusion didn't just suddenly drop on the Wii U. Obviously,
Right.
it's just one of
No.
those situations where it was like Fusion and Zero Mission are available on that system, and that was like it's there, and now everyone's noticed it, right? Because it's like, oh, it's gone up the bestseller charts, and it would make sense that that Metroid people would want to start playing more Metroid games, and people still have their Wii U's hooked up, and they're like, oh god, I can buy Fusion right now here. I can just do that.
If
It's like,
I don't know if any of those games came out on the Virtual Console on the Wii, but I don't think you can buy stuff on the Wii Virtual Console anymore.
there's that too.
Right? So really, if you're gonna buy a virtual version of a thing, because as you pointed out, it's like if you want the original, finding an original cart could be harder, but you could probably find a Wii U at a secondhand game store. I'm assuming. I haven't been in one in a while. It's been a little difficult to go.
Yeah.
But
It was it was largely surprising to me to find this out, that because I was reading Nintendo Life and I saw that it's like, yeah, did you know that you can play Fusion and Zero Mission on the Wii U? And I'm like, why? Why are they there? Like, oh, I guess they're left over, but also if they're there, then why didn't? And the question really is, why didn't Nintendo say, oh God, we should also have these available to purchase on?
Yeah, I'm a little
on the
surprised
Switch.
that
This should be a thing, but it is because they're GBA games that it's like, well, we can't do that.
Well, I
yet.
mean, they could if they wanted to. Maybe there's a plan to bring them out. There's always been speculation about the GBA being maybe the next thing for Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah.
Are there no GBA games for Switch?
No.
Not
For
from
Switch?
Nintendo that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I assumed that there was a GBA emulator for Switch already existing.
Right.
I guess if there isn't, then that's a very minor reason why they might not have bothered to do it.
Yeah. See, I'm not surprised that you could probably play everything on the Wii U and like maybe 3DS generation combined, because even as recently as Breath of the Wild coming out, you could play every Zelda game on the Wii U and the 3DS.
Yeah, it's and I mean, I saw a comment go by. Somebody in chat had said that Stephen Totillo had written a thing to be like, it's weird that the 3DS is the only system that is still technically current where you can play all of the 4 Metroid games that Metroid, Metroid Samus Returns, Super Metroid, and Fusion. And I guess you can count Zero Mission in there as well, even though that's basically just a remake of Metroid. But it's like those are all available because of the Ambassador program.
As long as you had the Ambassador program, because
that.
And I will say like the Ambassador program thing, which if for those of you who don't know, was we did a price drop on the 3DS within like I think 6 months, and for early adopters, if you had bought prior to that, you got 10 free games as part of the Ambassador program, and they never made those games available to buy later, which for me is a weird move by Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because I'm very used to them being like, oh, if you pre-order this game, you get this digital thing, but if you didn't, you can buy it later.
Right.
Yeah. Also, the nice thing about the Ambassador program is you got diplomatic immunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I can say things about Nintendo without being prosecuted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
special power.
Mm-hmm.
I do not understand Nintendo's. I mean, I guess it's not like that's a new thing, but Nintendo's back catalog distribution strategy continues to be basically throwing darts at a dartboard. It's like, if it lands on a red space, we'll release it. If it lands on a black space, we won't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's like actual reasons that we're not really privy to, because maybe there's a bit of a culture difference, as it is a Japanese company. Maybe there's also just a thing of maybe they don't care about doing anything backwards compatibility wise at all, and the only reason that they ever end up doing it is somebody at the company really likes a specific thing and wants to get it out. It could be as simple as that. And that would be not a thing that would be easy to like watch them do stuff and be like, aha, I figured out the Matrix.
Yeah.
But it's the way that that whatever that process is that they have to go through in order to decide which games to release and which games not to release has to be done anew for every console, right?
Yes.
That had to be done for the Wii, for the Wii U, and for the Switch, and came to different conclusions for each console. So there's this weird. It's that thing where when you go on to like Netflix and they have the second and fourth of a 5 movie series, and you're like, why is this like this?
Yep.
And it's like the answer is because it was like because someone somewhere released all 5 onto a different streaming platform, and but the company then they have an exclusivity contract, but for some reason it's exclusive only for certain movies, and so we can release the other ones everywhere else.
And in certain regions.
Oh yeah. I mean, we'll get to the regional story in a bit, but I thought it was interesting to actually go look at here's the things you can do, right? It's like if you want to play Metroid, it's like you want to play Fusion, you can do that. And I was like, oh, $20 for a cartridge, that's not bad. And then I noticed they were shipping from China. I'm like, these might be fakes.
Oh, definitely.
These might be bootlegs, right? And it's like,
absolutely,
especially because it was like 17 sold in the last 20 minutes, 143 sold total. And I'm like, if you're sitting on that many Fusion cartridges when all the rest of them are selling for $75 in the US used, these are duplicates. These are
and maybe
bootlegs.
Maybe that doesn't matter.
Maybe they work just fine.
Maybe they work fine. That's really the only real problem I have with bootlegs for like a really old system game.
Yeah.
Especially one that's really hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's really gonna work properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe those aren't like really low quality blurry photos of the cartridge. Maybe the cartridge is actually blurry itself when you get it.
Yes, like Bigfoot.
Like, this isn't gonna fit inside my.
Yeah,
I don't understand how this.
How does this have such soft edges? You squeeze it and it goes, and you're like, well, that's weird. But yeah, like, and then the idea of like, we'll go to a used game store and buy GBA games, and that's damn near impossible these days, unless you find like a dedicated used game store whose job it is to stock stuff.
Those carts are still going to be really expensive though, because like dedicated used stores now
understand
have the internet, and they typically tend to price check against what games like that are going for.
Yeah, I went to like years ago. I would go to the CB Games every so often, and noticed that they had a copy of Astro Boy Omega Factor. It was Omega Factor, I think that's what it was called, for the GBA sitting on their shelves. I'm like, I've never heard of this Astro Boy game that got made. And then I went and looked it up, and I'm like, it's apparently an amazing game. And I went back like 2 or 3 times, and they still had it just like nude, just sitting in the case. And eventually I just went ahead and bought it, and it was a fantastic game. It's so good. And I was like, my God, like people slept on this so much. And that's the kind of game that when they do need to know. And I'm like, that's part of the problem. That's the kind of game I'd want to see come to like Nintendo Switch Online, Game Boy Advance, right? I'd want that kind of game to show up. But we get like Heianko Alien or some shit that is just like, why did that get ported?
I don't know.
And that's just kind of that is
somebody else had that same experience you did, except with that game, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I when I look at what's left on, because you say the Wii U eShop, but that's probably also what they refer to as the Virtual Console, which they've definitely ditched at this point, and I think that has more to do with they don't want to bring back every single game in a new Virtual Console. They don't want to set that expectation partially, and a lot of older companies are realizing they could just package their games into a collection and sell it again.
Yeah, that's why we're never going to see any Contra game, Castlevania game, Mega Man game, like any of those kind of like, these were hit series. It's like, right, and you can now buy that for $39.95. You can buy half of the games or a third of the games on a single Switch cartridge, and we will never put these on Nintendo Switch Online
No,
because why would we? We can sell
And-
you your games
and
back
I
to
think
you.
I think because I've seen people say they shouldn't have dropped the virtual console,
It's like,
and well, that's what they say.
I know.
And I'm like, okay, but if they said that they were bringing back the virtual console, the expectation would be everything we've done prior. And I don't think some of those games sold that well.
No,
So I don't think they want to bring them all back.
no, and I think largely too that that any company that like Capcom or Konami, anybody who's like, I have a dead horse that I can still be making money off of, those companies are going to be like, why would I bring that back? Like, why would I put that on your platform and ask people to pay like $5.99 or $3.99 or whatever per game on your platform and then get a cut when I can just put all that stuff onto a cart and release that, even just release
Yeah.
it digitally, and it's like, and then I get all the money for that, or all plus
Well, I mean,
less Nintendo's tiny cut.
whatever.
Whatever.
Look, at the end of the day,
Hmm.
all I need Nintendo to do is bring back a remade version of Nintendo Land, because they've proven Mii's are still a thing,
Yeah.
and Nintendo Land won't work the way it works on the Wii U, so it's fine if you gotta make a Nintendo Land 2, but this was the best game on the Wii U as far as I'm concerned. There were other ones that were probably better, but I still liked this one a lot, and it's the only game I don't think that they might bring over to the Switch, whereas opposed to some of those other ones that haven't quite made it yet are likely to make it eventually.
Yeah.
Nintendo Land, the best game for the Wii U, except for all the other good ones.
It was a fun game.
It was the fact that they bundled it with consoles.
They didn't bundle it.
Yeah, Nintendo Land came out in some bundles in consoles. Not a lot, but there was a Nintendo Land bundle right off the bat, wasn't there?
No.
I have to leave for a second
Oh goodness, he's gonna go fact check
for
me.
a completely different reason, but I am going
All
to
right.
fact check that while
I don't think that's
return.
true.
So I'll be right back.
I'm pretty sure, at least in North America, there was no bundle.
I will be right back. I have to do a bio thing.
Hi, Paul.
Hi. Let's talk about Sonic.
Okay.
It's
Peach
Sonic's
doesn't have anybody in that race.
It's Sonic's 30th anniversary. You may not have heard. They have been hitting it pretty hard lately. I mean, it's because of the rivalry between, and just because of how the time periods work, and because the iconic characters for the consoles came out quite early in their lifetime. Mario and so forth. It's funny that, like, basically, Mario, big anniversary for Mario, big anniversary for Sonic, big anniversary for Zelda, big anniversary for Metroid. Like, all these anniversaries are all kind of happening around the same time. But yeah, what is the going, go back in time to a Sega Genesis person and show them Super Smash Brothers doing a special event for Sonic's anniversary. It's how former enemies have made up. I mean, it helps when one of them has basically been crushed into the ground. So, Nintendo can be like, yes, Sonic, you are our friend now that you are no threat whatsoever.
I mean, Sega was the one that did the marketing of we've got the rivalry with Nintendo. That was part of their PR for making their product at the time.
Right, yeah.
Was it the Genesis?
Sega do what Sonic don't. Wait, no. Sega do what Nintendo don't.
Yeah.
Some way that works.
I thought that was a made up thing for the longest time.
What Nintendo? Yeah.
Yeah, I really thought that was like a photoshopped thing that people were making. I don't know. I think I missed those magazines.
And the this like Minecraft Sonic thing, which looks great actually. Like, it looks super neat. I I get so it's so interesting, this idea of an official Minecraft DLC, not, containing no mining and no crafting and basically none of the actual what you would call the Minecraft game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's basically using Minecraft as like Little Big Planet, uh, but like a sort of weird voxel version of Little Big Planet, and like making a totally other game out of it, which is cool. I mean, it's neat that, and obviously Minecraft has a lot of flexibility in that regard, as we've
Mm-hmm.
seen with tons of plugins and things, and mods and stuff. But it's interesting to actually have it done by done by actually Microsoft in first party. Maybe that's not a new thing, but it's
Well, I mean,
still interesting.
it really shows that yes, you can make a blocky character of a thing, even though that character very clearly from the blocky look of the version you've made is designed to have a lot of round edges
Yeah,
to
the
it.
his like the like spines that go at the back of his head look really weird and freaky.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Like I'm a little surprised they went to that degree.
and also just um the way that Minecraft animates things, when they're, the screenshot I used in the video, where when Sonic is looking down, he looks so sad. He's like, "Hmm, I guess it's a Chaos Emerald." Um,
Hello.
Hi, sorry.
He's not back yet. We watched the Sonic movie last night, actually.
oh, really? The new one?
Yeah, yeah. It's on Amazon Prime.
Surprisingly good, I would call
It
it.
was all right.
Yeah, like, it's, your expectations are not that high because of what it is, and it's like, hey, this is actually fine.
It's okay. I think it would have been a better movie if they'd cut out every scene with Dr. Robotnik, personally. But
That would have been difficult for the plot, I feel.
Yeah,
yeah.
true.
But I all the parts I really enjoyed did not have that character in it. So that's
It's because the only parts that I really enjoyed with Robotnik in it were the ones where there was the actual showdown with Sonic, like the parts where he sends out his weird robot cars thing that is like a Matryoshka doll of cars chasing them on the highway, and Sonic has to fight those things, and Jim Carrey has to react and do stuff, and they keep cutting back to him in his like giant ass truck, his semi truck that he does his command center thing, and then the showdown when he's in like his flying machine, because Robotnik has to have a flying machine, and like all those things were really cool, and there's lots of good lines, and there's lots of good antagonism, and it's lots of crazy going on. And it's
Yep.
like, okay, that's great.
I mean, also once I realized that the voice actor for Sonic was the same one for, was it Dewey?
Dewey, yeah.
For Dewey Duck in DuckTales, I suddenly actually just reframed the whole thing as a weird Dewey adventure, but now he's a hedgehog, and it really worked.
And it was Dewey, because we kept saying it's like Louie or Dewey, because it's not Huey. Huey was played by Danny Pudi.
Yeah, no, it was definitely not Huey, but I don't think it was Louis. Pretty
But-
sure it was Dewey.
Yeah, it's just they spent a lot of time letting Jim Carrey kick the dog, and I was just like, do I not like how often I know he's supposed to be an ass, but you didn't. It was like you should have made him more low key malevolent in the beginning, and then ramp it up as we went. But you didn't. You thought you did, but you really just made him just a jerk. You just made him, and I'm kind of like, why did you make him a jerk? You should have made him like more like menacing.
The one scene I did like with him was when he was basically going around his like evil lair and dancing to a bunch of music and light shows that he clearly like set up to do because he thought it was fun.
Yeah.
And he had like labels for things that said baddies and evil lair. I'm like, I'm okay with a villain that knows he's a villain and even revels in it to a degree. It's just the like weird, I'm incredibly serious, but I'm gonna do this thing that seems goofy, but I'm not really being goofy.
Yeah. But anyway,
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not technically a movie review show, I guess, but
No, I mean we were talking about Sonic.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about
The
Steam.
Nintendo Land bundle.
Okay,
Steam
so
region.
you're gonna tell me I'm wrong. Okay.
The Nintendo Land bundle not only exists, there are actual pictures of it. And even in fact, on Wikipedia's webpage, it was a pack-in launch title in 2012.
Okay. We got a completely different bundle and it didn't come with that.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah.
There's actually, what's funny is Nintendo Land got removed from the eShop in 2013 and then put back in the eShop after that.
Okay. Before we move on, I just want to say one thing. I saw the people in chat who told me I was wrong way before Beach left, and then came back to tell me I was wrong. And all of you who are commenting later on this over at youtube.com/loadingreadylive in the below, because you didn't watch the whole video to find out that, yes, I acknowledged that I was wrong.
Okay.
Now you can go and edit that comment and be like, I see that you already acknowledged that you were wrong, while I jumped the gun and wrote an entirely comment before watching the whole video.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, YouTube.
Heather acknowledged that she was wrong. Can you do the same?
Yeah, right? Right?
All right, yeah. So Steam region locking, and
Yeah.
which is it's a funny thing because this is this idea that they haven't actually had region-based pricing for that long. Like for a long time, they didn't have region-based pricing, but they do.
Right.
They've had it for a while now, where depending on what region you're in, you'll get a different price for a game. And of course, that can go both ways.
Yes.
And so the news story part of this is that they've been having problems with people gaming the system, changing their region, buying a game, changing back, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so they're making it so you can only change your region once every 3 months.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the part of the part of this that we sort of focused on was the, like, if you look at the like price, like the screenshot I had on the thing was the price list for Red Dead Redemption, which is, Red Dead Redemption 2, I should say, which is
a AAA game that is
a AAA $60 game.
Yeah.
And the screenshot I had, was just showing sort of things. So like the USD price is sort of in the middle, the $60 price, and then there's a bunch of countries where we are paying more than $60 USD converted for the game, and there are a bunch of countries that are paying less than $60 USD if you convert it.
Yeah.
For the game. Obviously, when people are doing the like changing their region, they're changing it to one of the countries where they're paying less money. And I guess if you're in Canada or in Japan gets the worst apparently.
Oh, really?
And the UK also very bad. UK almost pays like the same number price in US dollars for a lot of things,
but they paid in pounds. Which is usually
which is like sometimes like 1.5. It's brutal.
And yeah, I mean I guess a couple things. Let's start with the Norway thing.
Norway being one of the Norwegian kroner being one of the currencies in which they end up paying more than.
Yeah. And yet not that much more. But then also people in chat or people in the comments were talking about how it's like, I don't know why you picked Norway, because Norway actually, on average they make more money per household, like their median income or their mean, could be their mean income, but let's say their median income, because I didn't bother looking this up, which is a point. Their median income is much higher than the median income in the United States. Therefore, it means that you're buying a game and you are already making more money, so it's okay for you to spend a larger percentage of that on that game because you're not going to feel it as bad, right? And it's like, so why wouldn't you pick like a poorer country? Why wouldn't you pick like I don't know what a poor country would be, but someplace, maybe a Southeast Asian country, or maybe a country in Africa, or something along that line, right? Or Latin America, or South America. And it's like, you see Norway. And you might argue with me, it's like, yeah, but you could have done this and you picked this other thing, you could have done some more research. I'm like, but also might I remind you, Norway. And it's like, I've been doing this for episodes now. Every time I make a money conversion, it's always been Norwegian kroner. So of course, I don't give a shit whether it makes sense or not. It's a thing that I'm doing.
If you're an avid CheckPoint watcher, you have now just learned that Beach doesn't care if the story makes sense.
Nope.
He will bend over backwards to be able to say Norwegian kroner.
I will torpedo my own bit just to have the comedy of it. I will totally continue that.
And by the way, yeah, and for those who are asking in comments, tax is not included in the price, at least not in Canada.
Oh.
Maybe other places do.
Holy crap.
Yeah, no, when we say a game is $80 here, we're not including our taxes on that.
That's $80 pre-tax.
Yeah.
Because there's different taxes in different regions.
We're one of those countries that does that,
Yeah. So maybe, I don't know how Steam handles other countries' stuff, but at least in Canada, you have the price of the game, and then there'll be GST on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But BC's at like, what, 12%?
Is it 12%, Paul?
It's 5%
like that,
GST and like 7% PST.
Yeah, because
I don't know what it is at the moment, but
weird that it's like because for years I would always remember coming to here when they didn't have HST for that like 10-year gap or whatever when HST was here. It's like I was here mostly before that, and it's like okay, and I knew what both of them were because it was so weird living in Alberta to have to pay a provincial sales tax on top of a federal sales tax. Because in Alberta we just pay the federal sales tax. We don't have a provincial sales
technically
tax.
the Alberta PST is just 0%. Like they could raise it if they wanted
from
to.
A technical standpoint, they don't. Yeah. And now that HST is gone, it's like now we've come back to this thing, but then there was also this adjustment, and it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, it's confusing, honestly.
So yeah, the pricing, Canadian pricing, kind of, we do definitely get screwed over on that, but lots of countries get screwed over worse. So I guess, we've done stories before about how Australia gets terrible. A terrible deal in terms of this isn't just even a Steam thing. This is just a video game thing in general.
Yeah,
I think
my
just
understanding
a thing that
for Australia it's import fees, which then they also make sure line up with the digital games, and that's just
right.
That's gross.
Yeah,
I know. Zero punctuation. Yahtzee's talked about because of course he's based in Australia. Mm-hmm. And he talked about, he said, games in Australia are more expensive, but I always just consider that having the nicest beaches tax.
having the biggest sunburns tax. This was one of those issues where it's like, I get where Steam is coming from, that they're like, we want people to pay the price that they're supposed to pay in their own region. Why? Largely because I'm sure from a statistical standpoint, they want to be able to represent this is how much, we want our stats to represent how games are being sold in different areas so that we can see how sales are going in different areas. And when you change your country to a random place and then we sell a whole bunch of copies of that game in that one place, it's hard on our stats to be like, well, for some reason in Burkina Faso, there's about 100,000 people playing whatever game because it's priced like $10 lower than everywhere else. So, hey, that's a piece of useful information that we can tell. It's like, no, it isn't. So I feel like this was largely driven by the sense of we have to do this kind of thing so that not only do all of our numbers make sense, but there might even be a regulatory aspect to it too, where it's like games that you're not supposed to be able to sell in certain regions if you can just switch to another region and then buy it. There might be that regulatory issue as well, but
like from Steam's perspective, it's hard to convince a publisher to reduce their prices, to have a price in a lower price in a different region if you can't also guarantee that people not in that region won't be buying it, right?
Yeah,
Like
there was a
that's
whole
Yeah.
thing about the crap. There's a whole thing about selling in other markets, where it's like if you Christ, come on, Beej, you used to sell CDs that came out of
I mean,
Southeast Asia.
it's like it's sort of a more sophisticated version of the like region locking thing that
Yeah,
has always been or has been the case for a long time.
yeah.
Um,
These gray export areas where it's like you're not allowed to sell something to another region because we are already making it available in that region at a lower price because we know that we need to be able to
Yeah.
to sell stuff there, and we know that we need to price it. A CD in Japan costs $35, but that same CD costs $20 in Singapore. Why? They're both legit. They're both made by Victor, but it's like, oh, but we can't sell it at $35 in Singapore because nobody buys CDs for $35 in Singapore. We
Yeah.
have to sell it at a lower
I mean,
price.
markets are essentially region locked in a variety of ways. Taxes, the demographics of like what you want to sell. If everybody bought all of their, let's say if everybody switched all of their Nintendo Switch accounts to the Japanese market and then bought all the games that they could have technically bought in North America on the
Japanese
on the
shops.
Japanese eShop, that would really change the numbers of what it would look like for their North American demographic.
Yeah.
To the point of like maybe we don't localize that kind of game over there anymore, right? Like they use
Right,
data
yeah.
in that way.
Yeah. And Sniper Pumpkin makes an incredible point where it's like they also have to collect and pay taxes to the countries in question. And if you have 100,000 people living in a certain region deciding that they want to go to a different region to buy a game, Steam has to then remit taxes that has to remit a whole bunch of taxes to one country, and that other country has just lost out on sales tax revenue on stuff that they should have been able to sell in that country in the first place. And that country, if they find out that it's like, wait, you're telling me that there's about $12 million worth of taxes that we could be collecting from people over the course of the year that is now being sent to other regions around the world because they're buying a digital good from that location, so it's costing them no effort, no time. We need to go to Steam and get them to stop doing that because we need to have our tax revenue. And
Yeah, I'm saying capitalism and economics is all very complicated.
yep.
I remember a little while ago we did a story about this was a couple years ago now that Atlas was region locking their games for PS4, which almost nobody did. Like PS4 games could be region locked; they were DVDs or they're Blu-rays or whatever, but most games for PS4 are not region locked. But Atlas did do it. And people got mad at them. And there's this great blog post that they, response that they posted, and they were like, no, sorry, we made it region locked because we want to sell it at different prices in different places and not allow people to import it. And people are like, yes, we understood that. We were mad about that.
Yes.
The reason makes sense. We understand why. We still don't.
Yeah, that's
not
why we
happy
were
about
mad.
it.
Yeah, we understand. We got you. And it's weird to me that I don't know what happens maybe it is a thing. Maybe when you start working for a company, you start doing things in that way. And I mean, that does happen when you start working for a company and you start thinking in the way that what's the things that are supposed to protect the company. A lot of times you start forgetting about what it's like to be just a person who needs to interact with a market, right? You forget about the fact that it's like, oh, right, my paycheck depends on this thing, so now I stop thinking about what it means to be on the other side of that transaction. That happens a lot. It sucks.
Well, here's something that also sucks. Pokemon Go is lifting a bunch of reverting, I guess, a bunch of their changes that they made during the pandemic.
And I believe that may have been somewhat reversed since we
really?
posted
Since we
that
documented
story.
Oh,
story.
good.
Maybe even since we posted that story.
Somebody did comment on the fact like that thing's already out of date because Niantic did whatever, and I was kind of like, It's tough making a video game.
I mean,
Show.
that happens. It's not.
Yeah.
A problem. I don't.
I don't know what exactly, because for all I know, it could have just been. It could be all of them, or it could be only a couple of them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I didn't.
The original story was that they were rolling back some of the things that they'd changed, making it so that sort of basically forcing people to get out of the house to actually play the game again. Which is, I mean, I can see the like both sides of the aspect of like, you want people to be able to play the game, and obviously you don't want to encourage people to do unsafe activities and things. On the other hand, if people want to sit on their couches playing Pokemon, there's a lot of games that they could be playing to do that. The whole point of Pokemon Go is the Go part, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's the thing we have that differentiates us. We should probably be like pushing that.
Yeah. It's I mean, yeah, I understand the frustration of I want to be able to continue to do the things that made the game more fun for me when I can sit home and play it. I don't play the game. But also the game is designed around like real world exploration as well. I can see why they're probably eager to try to continue to push that. In the midst of a pandemic, it is a little hard to justify still.
And I mean, the problem is that it's not only is Pokemon Go based on that, but of course the same back end system also underpins like the Harry Potter game, these other games, and also this like central technology that Niantic has been selling to other they've been heavily marketing and selling as their sort of expertise. And so obviously they are they want to have that expertise and that thing become relevant again as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I want to make
Not
the
Niantic.
most cynical.
Sorry, I always go Niantic, but Niantic.
Of the most cynical views of this that I possibly can, which is they need you to leave your house and they need you to go as close to those Pokestops as possible so that you will actually go to the businesses that want to pay for the business stops. Because really this is and we've talked about this before. I said I don't when they brought out these changes because of the pandemic, of like they're gonna roll all of them back and it's gonna be a shame because they finally made their game accessible to a lot of people who have mobility issues.
And Graham even mentions in the story, I think it's mentioned in the story that Niantic had their most lucrative year during the pandemic because people were staying home and playing and then buying the things that you need in order to play the game because they're bored because they have nothing to do. So they continue to play this game and continue to put money into it. And yeah, I wonder how, because a game like this is like, we need you to get out and go for a walk and go do these things. And so even when there isn't a deadly virus floating around the air, some people actually don't want to go outside all the time. But able-bodied people even are just like, sometimes I just want to have a night the fuck off. I just want to sit in my house and I want to watch a movie and I want to poke a Pokemon on my phone and eat my food and not have to think about I've got to go do my circuit.
I feel like targeting the sometimes people just don't want to go outside demographic is like the wrong thing for Pokemon Go to be doing, though, right?
Agreed.
It's it's the Dark Souls thing, right? It's like sometimes games are not for everybody.
Yes.
Let's also remember what happened when Pokemon Go started and was at its height of a whole bunch of people going places, including trampling over other people's yards, trespassing in places they weren't supposed to, because some of these Pokemon stops are in places and will currently be in places right now that are closed off, that people will try to go to. Ingress, same kind of game of like having to hit those places. I remember reading someone's they have a achievement or something for being able to hold the same
waypoint or whatever,
waypoint or whatever for like hours and months and whatever on end.
Right.
And I read a story about someone who was like, I went into a theme park on the last day just before it closed, and I hit the stop, and then when I left, that place was closed for months, and that was how I got mine. And I'm like, yeah, they're and that means either you got to take those stops out, or you have to maybe arrange so those stops can be hit from a further away place, because people are gonna just do things. They're gonna walk into the middle of the street trying to go get the thing across the street because they can't quite get there, but they don't want to cross the street really.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean
that
that's
happens.
and I mean they're definitely, from what I understand, things they've cleared up a lot of stuff around that.
Yeah.
The Pokestops that were like in graveyards and things. There's been some stuff where they've been clearing those up and trying to sort of get around it, but still, yeah, I mean obviously that's, but like I feel like that's sort of a problem with the technology itself.
Yeah.
That
you still need like 20 people to take down a gym, and those 20 people should still stand about 6 feet apart still. And if they all have to go closer to that gym at this moment, it's
everyone just keeps maybe everyone just can keep cycling. It's like you just keep walking slowly, and you have like a conveyor belt style, just kind of keep everyone gets close to it, and it's like, okay, we're just going to kind of keep doing this and circulating past the gym.
You live in one of those towns where it's like a really small town, so maybe you only have like 2 Pokestops, and they're incredibly far away.
Yeah.
There's lots of other reasons.
I feel like, too, though, so many of these, like, the reason why the behavior comes out, this has been a fantastic social behavior experiment, like Pokemon Go has, because like Ingress itself, a smaller group of people playing that, definitely. Pokemon Go, a much larger group of people. And it has been a really interesting thing to watch, to see like, well, here's how we see bad behavior manifest. And you're saying, well, Ingress was already manifesting a lot of that bad behavior. It's like, right. And now that you put 10 times as many people into that box, 10 times as many incidents start occurring, or maybe even 100 times more incidents keep occurring. And you get to see how ridiculous the social behavior becomes because of like what becomes acceptable and what isn't. And then you have the whole, and as you pointed out, Paul, this is a technology problem, because the technology is what's influencing behavior. It's not the behavior just naturally occurring. It's that the technology is kind of pushing people to act in a certain way.
And like it seems to me that like if the solution to the problem is extending the range on things so that people can all do it from home, that indicates that your whole premise for your technology is flawed, right? Like you've just turned your Pokemon game into a regular crappy Pokemon game, like a crappier than normal Pokemon game.
I don't think you could do like everything from home. Like you could join in on raid battles,
right?
Sure, but I think you still had to get closer to a Pokestop than just.
And I think there's maybe ways to. There. I think there's ways to maybe like there are probably other technological methods by which they can influence people to do these things. Like talking about like incense is supposed to do something. I forget what it is.
It attracts Pokemon to you so that you can catch them.
Right, and they said that incense is only supposed to be useful when you're walking around, right? It's supposed to be a thing that you walk around with it, and they changed it for COVID to say, well, incense now works when you're in your house, and Pokemon will come to you in that way.
You can just hotbox your house.
Right, exactly, right? and so it's like, well, but what if the idea is that if it's been like the idea of tweaking something to say like, well, it's more effective while you're moving, to be like, if we notice that you're moving, the incense actually sucks more things in faster.
That's how incense originally worked. I haven't played Pokemon Go in a long time, so I don't know if they changed it past that, but originally it was, if you have the incense out and you're not moving, then you only get like a Pokemon shows up every couple of minutes, or like maybe every 5 minutes. But if you're moving, you're more likely to run into them more often, which is why as soon as we got into the ferry, everyone would turn on the incense, because the movement of the ferry took it for you. Like, there's ways around this stuff.
Sure. No, absolutely. And the ferry moves at a decent enough clip that it's kind of like, well, it can fool it into thinking that you're not riding a bus or whatever. But I think like if the idea is to make more items and more things work that way within the game, that would probably influence people's behavior into being like, well, I can sit at home and I can do the things that I need to do tonight because I don't have time to go out, but I did want to get my Pokestops in or whatever. But if I am out, I know that the game will be more effective. That I will, like the idea of having to walk to crack your eggs is a good one. But what if it was also based on other factors as well?
So the egg thing is a deceptively I think actually a very awful loot box system.
Sure.
That well, I don't disagree about the walking to crack eggs, but the fact that your slots get built up and you can't just garbage an egg, so they kind of entice you to have to buy more egg incubators, and then you end up with a bunch of 2k eggs when you're literally looking for like the 10k eggs, and you have to crack all your 2k eggs to clear out the space to get your 10k if you're trying to look for that specific loot drop is mean.
Eggs are nature's loot boxes.
Yes. Sometimes you crack a legendary and it has a beak in it.
That's like, my hot take for this.
I can see some of the arguments for like, oh, it's an exercise game, it should be these things and whatnot. But I also just feel like if I really don't feel like Niantic has my best health at heart anyway. So let me play the game however I want.
Fair. Oh, and the final story we had here was Guardians of the Galaxy is going to have a streaming mode that will disable the
all music.
Yeah, disable the music so people don't go DMCA, which is I appreciate. We sort of made the joke that like, obviously Guardians of the Galaxy is known for its sort of, iconic 70s and 80s music. So presumably that would be quite a detrimental thing to do. I like that the option's there. I do wish that companies would do like sound alikes, or at least some sort of thing that has like a similar beat to it or something.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, like, because that's what I want. I mean, it's why I wrote it the way that I did. It's like doing a sound alike on a really, really like just gross sound alike that it's just like, oh, I can hear. It's like doing the James Bond theme, but dun 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 dun. It's like that kind of thing. It's like, oh, that sounds awful. Oh, and just kind of like you have to be, I think, the kind of person who really enjoys that kind of I've done a very bad thing. And that's what I want from this, but that's not what it'll ever be. They'll just be like, no, we'll just cut that out, and we'll just have you play the generic background play music.
I mean, if we want this to be a real streamer experience of having music replaced, it needs to be very generic chip tunes, the kind of thing that Twitch would place over somebody else's audio so that your thing can't get taken down.
I would love if they're like streamer mode, okay, and then it's just like kazoo and melodica cover.
Or
single take.
And I know this would be a lot more work, but there was that game we played that I think it might have been Dream Daddy actually. During you could turn on streamer safe mode, and there was like one scene with a date where there was like a song that was supposed to be safe, but they took out, and they replaced it with a song that was just the lyrics of them telling you that they had the song approved, but YouTube wouldn't let them. And I would love Guardians of the Galaxy to have a game that's just like, there should be a different song here. It would be called this. It would be really cool.
Yeah.
You decided to stream the game. Thanks, but you can't have this on. I would love that.
Sadly, people just aren't willing to put that much work in to make it, for streamers. But all right, what else we got going on here? Stories that we did not talk about during the stream. There's a new co-op shooter and in the Aliens universe.
All right.
Sounds kind of like sort of a Left 4 Dead, but Aliens kind of thing. 3-person shooter. Now, it was called Aliens Fireteam.
Okay.
But sometime when it was announced it was called Aliens Fireteam, it has now been given a release date and a new name. It is now Aliens Fireteam Elite.
They got an upgrade.
Somehow, even before the game came out, everybody in the squad did such a good job that they're like, you know what, you guys are elite now.
Oh man, they should just add the words "definitive edition" before the game actually releases.
Yeah.
No real difference though from the original. It's just like it now has a release date and a name.
Like it's not like there was. Yeah. It's not like this is a new version of another game. Like there's no like original. It hasn't been out before. But
okay.
I mean, it sounds like Left 4 Dead, but with aliens instead of zombies. Seems like it could work.
All right.
I mean, it's all down to actually the implementation, of course, but
true.
Could be fun. There's this great article about Final Fantasy VII remake. There's an interesting article with Motomu Toriyama, the remake co-director, was talking about the scene in the Honeybee, which is a fairly was a sort of a fairly I wouldn't say controversial, but it was a tricky scene, shall we say. And in the original Final Fantasy VII, it's Cloud
played for laughs.
Yeah, Cloud dresses up in a dress to get into this gentleman's club and this thing. And so for Final Fantasy, for the remake, they wanted to update it and sort of try to make it a little bit more try to sort of update it for modern sensibilities and make it a little bit more respectful. And by all accounts, they actually did a pretty good job. That they he's saying that the whole scene took a long time from the initial idea to composing the music, taking motion capture, adjusting the music and motion capture to fit together, because there's this whole sequence of Cloud like dance where you're like dancing and doing all this stuff.
Right.
Apparently there was going to be a pole dancing scene. But they removed it in order to they began filming they actually made like a whole elaborate set for it, and they began filming the stuff for the motion capture and then realized that it would have a serious impact on their rating.
Yeah. It's like, now you have a mature rating for this. Why? Because of this one scene.
So, hashtag release the pole dance cut.
Yeah.
I mean, I like seeing anime or video game characters. Sorry, it's Cloud, and I'm just like, that's an anime character. I like to see them doing dance stuff. I think it's a lot of fun when video game characters do dancing stuff, especially if it feels out of character for them, because like to get to see that. Although I completely forgot there was that whole dress up as a girl to disguise yourself to walk in trope, and I need to know, maybe chat knows, maybe somebody could tell me, if there is a video game where a character does that and then discovers that that's the thing they really want to do and that's more them. I would love to see that video game.
This has awakened something in me. I would love
if like stay in the dress for the rest of the game.
It would be very interesting because I don't know if it's like was the idea to have a pole dancing scene with Cloud cross-dressing, would it be a sexy pole dancing scene? Would it be a revealing pole dancing scene? Would it be the kind of scene that's like or is Cloud just in pigtails and the very elaborate dress, like the very elaborate party dress that he's wearing, but trying to pole dance in it, which is probably a little harder to do because the dress isn't made for that kind of movement. Then on top of that, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if they had a man come in to do the pole dancing for the motion capture and did a lot of the more masculine moves, and it would be this very athletic. It would be very clear that it's like this is not this like. Cloud is pole dancing, but he's pulling off like a lot of like really, really strength-based stuff and like doing the flag and doing like a lot of like other things. And it's like, that's all the guys in the club are kind of like, wow, holy shit. Like, they're like, I just came in here to watch a woman like grind in a pole, and this woman's doing an amazing job of athleticism. Like this completely different take on what pole dancing is.
I mean, it depends on what the dancing was. Like Nagoki's saying that the current dancing scenes are before the dressing up happens.
No kidding. Okay,
So
that's cool.
I now starting to think it's like now I just want to have to like some sort of like review website or YouTube channel where it's like reviewing. It's like, so the main thesis behind the pole dancing scene in this movie is that like really analyze. It's like sure they're pole dancing, but what does it say about the character in this film, in this video game, in this anime? It's like, you know, really getting the nuance of the pole dance scene.
So yeah, I mean, I think it would. I mean, it would be interesting if they had already shot it to be like, you could just release it as a clip to show people like this is what it would have looked like, but now it's not in the game, so we didn't have to get a teen rating for it. But they didn't make it, so
yeah, I'm pretty sure they like didn't. Yeah, it's probably not they don't have enough to actually release anything of it. But
yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. In other strange Nintendo online strategy news, they are shutting down. Nintendo is shutting down Splatoon 2's online lounge in July. Which, like, yeah, Splatoon 3 has been released, like announced, but it's not coming out until 2022. I feel like this might be a little premature. Apparently, like, you can still do matches within the game of Splatoon, but apparently that's kind of a pain in the butt. And this was like the best way of doing matches, and they're shutting it down. Which is like, it seems like this would be the thing that you like, maybe like you shut down maybe Splatoon 1, but it's like the game, like it's the game that's supposed to replace this isn't out for like a while. Why would you shut it down now?
I think they did something similar when they because when the first Splatoon came out, they talked about how they were going to, I think, support it for like at least a year or something.
Right.
And they did. And then I don't recall if they kept going with that support or not, but I think they did shut down a lot of the online stuff before Splatoon 2 came out. Like, I don't know that their dev team for that game is actually that big. And that's not to say this isn't a great idea, because I'm like, yeah, Splatoon 3 we know comes out in 2022.
Yeah.
I'm assuming sometime in summer, because Splatoon always feels like a summer game to me. But that's still like, even in the, if you go that before June, that's still like a year away.
It's really weird to think that what they're that they're just like, we're gonna shut down this feature that is a popular feature.
And like they've all like, you know, the sort of events and sort of updates for Splatoon 2 have already kind of petered out. You know, they used to do the like events for like, which is better, peanut butter or jelly or whatever.
Yeah, they haven't. I don't think they've done one of those in a while.
So it's like you would think that this is not that much a matter of like development. It's just basically maintaining the server. Like, they can't be that much time and effort. Yeah, maybe as accountant made friends in the chats. Yeah, maybe there's just like one computer and they need to like, oh, we need to use this computer for something else now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Splatoon 3, I'm curious to see what their single player campaign is, because like Splatoon 1 and 2 both had single player portions to them. I know nobody really talks about those because it's more about the online play. But Splatoon does kind of feel like it's getting to that point that maybe it should kind of turn into something like you see with PUBG, where it is a game you download and is just constantly updated as opposed to a new version number coming out.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Splatoon 3 is the new PUBG. Make it happen. I want 100 people squid fights.
Paul, I want so many Splatoon spin-offs because I love the aesthetic of the game, and I don't even mind playing the game, but it's not running around shooting things, even if the things are just walls, is not really my jam. And I'm like, give me a tactics Splatoon game. Give me a rhythm Splatoon game that it's its own thing and is like Hatsune Miku, but with just the idle squid girls. Give me those things, and I will definitely buy and play the heck out of them.
Like conceptually, the idea of you could do. There's all sorts of interesting mechanical things you could do with like, you know, these the squidlings that sort of put colors on different areas and stuff, right? Everything from whatever Portal did all the like gels and things, and but you could do all you could. There's all sorts of interesting things you could do other than just the sort of death match or whatever it is.
But I think that because it's
a territory game,
right? Yeah, territory conquer.
I feel like this is a I think this will be really interesting to see how this affects the Splatoon community. That by shutting down the online lounge feature, it's not shutting down all online play, but shutting down this online lounge, which is the matchmaking. It's not all the matchmaking though, is it?
I think it's matchmaking with your friends.
Okay.
Yeah, like you can. I think. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure the thing, but you have to do it like through the game now. So you're like. And I think are we? I don't know if we're still on friend codes. Are we?
Not for Switch. No.
They have
not in the same way.
Slowly evolved past that, but it's definitely hard to find other people through the Switch. But I want to just concentrate on this, and like I think it will be interesting to see how the community works with this. That if it's they could be shutting this down because they're like, okay, we're shutting this feature down now because maybe not many people are using it the same way, because maybe people aren't playing with their friends because there isn't like that kind of thing. But also, how does that affect whatever it is that they're coming up with to work with in Splatoon 3? Maybe they have a different idea for how the lounge is supposed to work, and they're like, we're shutting this down now because we don't want to support it anymore while we try to get this up. Will the community itself, when Splatoon 3 comes out, will the community itself be that eager to go back to using something like this? Is there a new thing that's coming in that they'll be able to use? Are people going to be mad about this and they're going to give up playing Splatoon altogether and therefore not wanting to play 3 when it comes out? Will it affect the overall take-up of the game? I am fascinated to see what shutting down a feature like this early does to how everyone interacts with the game. Captain Spam is saying that Online Lounge might just be the voice chat functionality tied into the Nintendo Switch Online app that you would have on your phone.
Right. So in that case, I'm not sure.
Now I want to actually have a click in it and encourage what that is. The feature allowed players to use the Nintendo Switch Online mobile app to set up Splatoon 2 matches and invite friends by sending them a URL link. Okay.
So it's still some matchmaking.
Yeah. The slightly simpler ones where you can try to get together with your friends.
The voice chat does also still work.
Oh, yeah. This is a more direct matchmaking process. I should have read the article before I started talking about it. That is weird, but okay. I guess they're not expecting people to want to do that kind of interaction then.
I had a quick story about that I kind of liked about Game Builder Garage, which has been out for a couple weeks now, 2 weeks I think. And mostly as a follow-up because when we talked about this when it was originally announced and talked about we had this whole thing about how people are gonna learn how difficult it is to make a game and all this kind of stuff, right? And so you're gonna be you can make all sorts of interesting things with it, but you can realize how difficult it is. Turns out not actually that difficult. It's been out for 2 weeks. People have made Mario Kart. People have made
Sonic 3D,
F-Zero, Sonic 3D. Yeah, I don't know what all these game designers have been complaining about all this time. Apparently, it's super easy to make video games.
Let's be fair that if you go watch that video for F-Zero, visually it's damn near indistinguishable from the SNES version. You would look at it and be like, "Holy crap, that's." If I just look at stills, it looks damn near the same. That's kind of amazing. But if you watch them play it, you realize that the bumpers on the side that take down your whatever, that's not those don't actually work. Okay, they're just walls. Okay, that's fair. The Sonic 3D looking thing is like, the jumping is not the same you would expect from the. You don't get to change a lot of that kind of stuff.
It's interesting though. It is interesting to see like the details, right? It's like,
Yeah.
the little like the things just don't operate exactly the way you expect them to. And it does illustrate the amount of tuning that's required. There's always that thing where it's like, well, the game's basically done. We're like 90% done. So the last 10% should be, I don't know, 6 months.
Yeah. Tighten up the graphics in level 3. It's simple. But somebody did remake VVVVVV.
Okay.
And did it so well that it essentially matches the original VVVVVV to the point where the original developer saw the video, like the playthrough video, and was just like on Twitter was like, "Whoa!" Because it was like, this is the same game ultimately. Like what you can pull off here, you can pull that off, and I'm like, that's great.
My life.
So yeah, it was. I was like, that's pretty cool. There's probably a lot of it proves that the Game Builder Garage is incredibly extensible in all sorts of different directions, and that depending on the simplicity of the game that you've made, I mean, somebody could probably make a Box Boy look-alike at that point.
Probably. I don't know if it would work quite the same,
right?
Given the way that game runs, but I mean, we have proven a few things, and as always, that when a game builder of some sort comes up, that everybody remakes games that they really like.
Yep.
Just to see how far they can get, I guess. I mean, that'll be over the course of a few months. Somebody will have. Something's going to come out in like 3 or 4 months where it's going to be this incredible recreation of something and be very close to how that thing works and just be like, yeah, it's taken me months to program this thing on my own based on already seeing it in front of me from somebody else having made it.
I assume people who are making F-Zero really, this is the only way they're getting that game back. So,
you could probably just go to the Nintendo eShop and purchase a copy of F-Zero. Actually, is it on Nintendo Switch Online?
I can't remember. Idea. That's not my franchise. I just know it's a franchise that people want.
You can get it for your Wii U.
Yeah, it's true. Get it for your Wii U while you're at it.
So a trailer has came out for Farming Simulator 22.
Yes.
2022. Which here I'll put a link to it in the chat. Is like a pretty amazing trailer, I gotta say. Just not like in the sense of like showing off really amazing stuff, but it's just like it's almost like more of a marketing thing for farming as a concept, as opposed to Farming Simulator. But it's like, wow, this is, and it's got like, I'll admit it made me a little teary eyed at one, at some point. It's like, wow, this is like really getting some emotions happening here. What's going on? Like, this is an ad for Farming Simulator. It's it's kind of like the thing, the podcast that my brother Dan and Cynthia do, the endorphin report, right? It's like there's certain things that activate kind of lower brain function stuff where, like, even though what you're watching is silly and not worth it, it's like this is still giving me like some weird feels.
It's I watched only the first like 8 seconds of it because I couldn't get the sound to work, and I was like trying to get my sound to work on my phone. I'm like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna do something else. I'll come back and watch it, and completely forgot to, and then ended up writing other stories, so I didn't come back and watch this thing. But I was immediately struck by this looks like a Folgers coffee commercial right at the very beginning. Like I was trying to make sense of what is going to happen
got that,
here.
Like, that it's not him, but like that Sam Elliott narrator kind of thing going on. Right?
Okay. Yeah. Oh well, that's neat that they did that. Was it? So if you hadn't known, though, I have to ask Paul, if you hadn't known this was an ad for Farming Simulator 2022, I guess, would you have been just completely surprised to see the logo come up at the end? Do you
No,
think?
well, it's CG, so it's like I don't think there would have been like I think it would have been like an ad for some video game,
Okay.
and they're farming, so I'd be like, I could probably figure
You would
that
have
out.
suspected.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So
But
next time they need to make one that's live action.
I guess so. Yeah, if just sort of the getting people into farming as a thing. I don't know.
Mm. Quick reminder for those of you who are fans of the Endorphin Report, there'll be a new episode tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah. And if you're not a fan, you should be, and go check it out. There's a bunch of
I
episodes.
haven't watched
up there.
any of these movies yet, Paul. I've actually been holding off listening to it because these are the kinds of movies I like, and I'd rather watch them first.
I mean, the premise of the show is that they watch it so you don't have to in some ways, but it works both ways. We've been talking about a lot of anniversaries. We got Sonic's anniversary and Zelda and Mario, and it's the N64, and it's the 25th anniversary of the N64.
Nice.
The N64th anniversary.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, what was everybody's favorite Nintendo 64 game?
God,
I mean, I got
Majora's Mask.
Yeah. Like, I didn't have a Nintendo 64 myself, so in terms of games that I actually like played, it's gonna probably have to be like GoldenEye, or I mean, and I mean, this makes me super basic, but Mario 64. Like, there's a reason why Mario 64 came out, and every single 3D platforming game basically followed that format for the next like 10 years.
Yeah. I really when the N64 came out, I was like, "Oh, I want that." But also I was at an awkward age. They're always awkward ages. You're never at like an age where you're not awkward. Let's just be fair.
I'm always awkward.
But I was at an awkward age. How old would I have been 25 years ago? About 15 or 16, I think. So I was old enough to have my own job, but not old enough to make enough money at my job to be able to, because I was not working that much, but not old enough to make enough money to be able to buy one of these things in short order. I was using it on, like, I need to pay gas for my car and stuff. I needed to, also be saving for university and whatnot. And so it's like, I didn't get to get one of these, and new consoles were not a thing that I could just ask my parents for, hey, can I have this? He's like, I had a Super Nintendo because it was at a price point that was affordable. This was not a price point that was easily affordable. And the first N64 I ended up getting was years later when I was in university. Someone had bought one on, like, used, and then they didn't want it anymore, and they left it in the anime club office, and then that ended up at somebody else's house, and then they didn't want it anymore. And I was like, can I have it? And like, sure, you can have it. And so then I just took it with me. Nice. I lived for about 4 months at a friend's house, and he had an N64, so I would play games there. And then, so when eventually I had my own N64 in university, it was because it had been passed down through like 3 or 4 people, and then I ended up getting it, and I still have it. And then, when we were dating, or when we were like living together, and we started merging all of our stuff together, you have an N64.
Yeah. That was the first home console I bought.
And now we have 2 in the house, I think, just laying around somewhere.
I think we got rid of mine.
Maybe we got rid of one of them
after we
anyway.
got married.
Yeah, we got rid of the one that was in the worst shape, I think.
Yeah, because like I remember going to Superstore with a calculator, finding the bundle that I wanted. The calculator was to figure out the tax, because at that point tax was 7%, and I was not good at figuring out 7% tax on my own.
Yeah.
And because I had to scrape every penny I could to buy this thing.
It was going to be real tight.
I wanted to make sure I had the right amount, and I remember the cashier looking at me funny with the calculator, being like, I have to make sure, because I don't want to get to the counter, be all excited, and be told I'm declined.
Yeah.
And that I don't quite have enough. And of course I had to get the bundle because you needed a game. So I think Super Mario 64 was the thing I had with it.
Okay.
And I think I only got like the one controller because
The one that came with the box, yeah.
People didn't play games with me anyway. So yeah.
Nice.
But Majora's Mask, same thing actually. Majora's Mask was my first pre-order game.
Was it?
Yeah, I bought Ocarina of Time based on vague memories of watching the cartoon as a kid and being like, well, Zelda looked cool, I guess, and then had fun with that. And then the moment they announced Majora's Mask, I was like, nope, first in line, gotta go pre-order that, and best game ever.
Ah. Yeah, I never really got into Majora's Mask. Maybe I should try it again. But I don't like being rushed in games. And so that always that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way about Majora's Mask. Like I'd be like halfway through something and be like, oh, now like I'm not gonna finish.
Yeah, if you don't have enough time to, I remember letting the time run out because I was like, what happens if I don't play the song, and and then being horrified and being like, I'm never doing that again.
I don't think I ever actually like played it long enough to get the song of slowing and stuff, and like didn't realize that there's actually like a different way of doing it, or there it wasn't actually as big a deal as I thought it was. But
yeah, anyway.
All right, that's the stories that we were talking about. Let's move on to talking about what's coming up next.
Yeah.
Because coming up next is Friday Night Paper Fight, where we're going to be doing a Arena Chaos draft with Graham and Wheeler and Ben Ulmer and James and Serge, I think that's everybody. Should be super fun. Followed by Rhythm Cafe because the betrayal at Krondor is completed.
Yes.
So the next Play It Forward hasn't started up yet. I don't know what it'll be, but that will happen at some point. So nothing on Saturday at the moment, but on Sunday, City of Beats. Is that one that you chose, Heather?
Nope.
It's a farming simulator.
I mean that's the first the little shot down there is the first I've seen of it. This is Ian's pick. I still have Wander Song to play through when I go back into the office, and I intend to play that because then I don't have to pick new games for like a while.
And then it's Yu-Gi-Oh! On Is This Your Card? I believe this will be the finale of the Yu-Gi-Oh!
Month.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Tastic month.
It is Pride Month after all.
Month and a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on Monday, Can't Draw Horses Club with Corey and friend or friends. Followed by the next in our Candlekeep Mysteries series, Sarah of Yellowcrest Manor. Ooh. And so, yeah, lots of great stuff coming up. LoadingRayRun.com/live, place to go for the full schedule. Let's thank all the awesome people who subscribed during this stream. Look at all these great people. People like Bronzefinger.
And Wizzo1138 for their second month. Hey, thank you for returning.
Yay, you came back.
It means a lot to us. I mean, that everyone, like Sharpie by Nature, is back for their 47th month. That's a lot of months, too.
I see the ox. Got that nice number of months.
Very nice. It's like Squickster for 49 months.
And at the end, some bits.
Don't forget Jonatastic, who also subscribed for 29 months, getting in there in the chat.
Sliding in there. And
and
Procrastinauts.
That's good too. I like to see everyone. I know it's super fun when the bits thing comes up that everyone's like, "Oh, do it now, do it now, do it now." It's like get in so you can pop on screen at the end. So thank you for 451 bits, Earth and One, Pharaoh Bender, and Gap Filler. Oh, and Brosar just missed it. Oh.
You got to be careful. There's the latency.
There's a stream delay. Generally of a few seconds.
Thanks everybody very much for watching. We will see all y'all later. Bye.
Bye.